Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, our guest today is Chad Griffin from the Human Rights Campaign. Also, the V-Team takes a look at how Joe Hubbard got slapped around by AG Luther Strange. And Mike Hubbard has paid Barry Moore's legal fees. What's the word here? Stay calm and keep lying. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V-Team.
Good to be back.
It is great to have you back. We missed you.
Good morning.
Governor Robert Bentley, I think, made a seismic shift in his cabinet or in his office.
Excellent choice.
Yes.
He chose former Speaker of the House, Seth Hammett, as his new interim chief of staff. What do you think about that, Claire?
I think it's a home run for the governor. I mean, Seth Hammett is widely respected throughout the entire state and the whole country. He's mature, as somebody would say, he brings a little gray hair to the table. And, you know, he knows everything from the legislative process to economic development to dealing with business. And he'll just be a tremendous asset to the governor and will work very well with him and his cabinet members, I think.
And most importantly, he knows how to work the legislature.
Right.
I think that was one of sort of the failings that I saw in the Bentley administration this last session was the inability to get some legislation passed that they wanted. And certainly former Speaker of the House, Seth Hammett, who served in the House of Representatives since 1978, has the experience to work across the aisles and with the two factions that I see in the Republican Party.
Yeah, and I think it'll be very interesting because I think we're going to have a very different makeup in the legislative body in the House and the Senate with so many people retiring and a lot of people being defeated. I think that the Chief of Staff, former Speaker Seth Hammett, will have the upper hand in the legislative process.
I think it's a shot across the bow, frankly,
too.
To Mike Hubbard and to the current leadership. You guys ran against Seth Hammett and the Democrats in this 136 years of corruption and reign that they kept telling us about, and then you guys did it even worse. You know.
Well, and we're hearing that they are gearing up for a new speaker. I mean, they're looking hard at Mac McCutcheon out of Huntsville to take that role, and McCutcheon, Hammett, these guys all probably work pretty good together.
Well, and then Mike Jones and other people. I think there's been a lot of names floating around.
Yeah. And the good thing about this is, too, that this is somebody that Governor Bentley trusts. I mean, he and Speaker Hammett worked together in the legislature.
Before, at the very beginning as well.
Right. Well, it's an interesting choice. I think it says a lot about that Bentley is determined to govern his way the next 4 years.
It's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, that's good for everybody. What was not so much a breath of fresh air was calling foul this week as Attorney General Luther Strange attacked Joe Hubbard, no relation to Mike, over taking money from the Porch Creek Band of Indians.
So do as I say, don't do as I've done.
Right, right. What's your take on this, Barron?
Well, Luther's biggest donor, I think, so far has been the RSLC, who's one of their biggest donors is the Sands Casino or whatever it is out there.
Sheldon
Adelson.
Yeah. You know, the Republicans all gathered behind Mitt Romney, who was largely financed, and Newt Gingrich, who these folks were largely financed by gambling money. During the 2010 elections, our Alabama Republicans were largely financed by gambling money. They went down to the Porch Creek Indians and got $350,000 and laundered it around and spread it around, including Brian Taylor and Luther Strange. You know, it's the height of hypocrisy. It's this 8th level of hell we've been talking about the last few weeks. If Joe Hubbard wants to go take money from the Indians, fine. Everybody else seems to be doing it.
Yeah, I think, you know, really, unfortunately, I think it was a bad point for Luther Strange, our Attorney General, to bring up. Because, I mean, I go back all the way to the 80s, y'all. Paul Laxalt from Nevada, former state senator, U.S. Senator, you know, he was chairman of the Republican National Committee. Nevada, the gaming industry is always given heavily to the Republican Party. I've been a part
New
of
Jersey.
it.
Yeah.
And they play big time in the Alabama legislative process, particularly for Republicans. So I think that he should have just zipped his mouth on that.
Yeah, well, they don't like it when Democrat casinos give, I guess.
Well, here's the other thing. To the extent that the Citizens United case with the U.S. Supreme Court said that campaign contributions are speech, the Poarch Creek Indians have now done quite a bit of speaking.
Yeah.
You know, Luther Strange did file the lawsuit against them in federal court, challenging their right to operate the electronic bingo machines and their right to conduct some of the activities on their tribal land. And so this, to me, is a statement for the Poarch Creek saying, we don't appreciate the way that you've handled yourself. And the fact of the matter is,
They want a friendly voice.
Well, people contribute to causes and candidates that they believe in. If
Right.
you're pro-life, you don't contribute money to folks who are, you know, pro-abortion clinic. And so that's exactly what I think the Poarch Creeks have done here.
Well, in this case, money doesn't talk, it screams. I mean, it really is yelling at them. But look, if it's good for the goose, good for the gander. Another interesting race that's shaping up is this Public Service Commission. Agency we very rarely
I know it's
hear
kind of a
much about.
snoozer, but
Yeah.
you know, I think a couple things. We don't have, you know, traditionally the highest race is the governor's race. There's no real serious competition in the governor's race, and so therefore you got to go down the ballot some. And then the primaries in the attorney general's race. I mean, the only statewide high-profile, you know, place where we got some actions in the Republican Party for the lieutenant governor's race between Cook and Ivey. So they're going down the ballot, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, talking about Kay Ivey here, you know, somebody brought up recently that 80,000 families in Alabama lost almost $500 million under her watch. I mean,
when she was the head of the Treasury, or when she was the state treasurer, under the PAC program, they lost almost $460 million.
Yeah.
That just vanished into thin air, and they made all these promises to people that if you buy these PAC certificates, your child will go to school, you know, at cost. And they were unable to fulfill that. It was her failure. It was her failure.
That's a little unconscionable. I mean, to do something
I think
like
young
that.
Boozer inherited quite a big mess when he came into office, and he's done a laudable job of trying to settle up with the remaining families in the PAC program.
But still, people lost that money that they had counted on. I mean, I personally know several people that lost you know, what they considered a fortune. Now they're having trouble putting their kids through
in all
school.
fairness, though, I mean, at the time that it happened, there was also the big tsunami with all of the Wall Street and the market and those sorts of things. I mean, so I don't think that we can lay all the blame for the deficiencies in the PAC at her feet.
Well, no, but she came out last week saying that she'd had a stellar record of public service. Now, losing $500 million is not stellar by anybody's imagination.
Well, people don't always tell the truth on their advertisement. Remember that.
I'm shocked.
Well, and speaking of the PSC race, this is what has kind of surprised me as an outside observer. I don't have any interest in the PSC race, really. But how Obama and Obamacare factor into the PSC really is something that I find
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to throw spears at Obamacare, and so who's trying to out-conservative who, and you know, and coal, the issue of coal.
Obama sells. I mean, there is no doubt about it. On the Republican side, Obama sells. How it relates to the PSC is Obama made it very clear that he wanted to shut down the coal industry.
Yeah.
Alabama has a good coal industry. We want to keep it. I was talking to Jonathan Barbie the other day. He said he wants to burn coal and continue that tradition here in Alabama. And that's good for the economy.
We're going to have to hold it. We're going to have to hold it right there. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
The V is sponsored by Spot On Strategies Group.
I've directed the Environmental Protection Agency to set new standards that put an end to the limitless dumping of carbon pollution from our power plants.
Let's face it, we're all tired of Obama's liberal agenda. Now he's threatening to shut down Alabama coal plants and raise our utility rates. I'm Jonathan Barbie, and I will stand up to Obama's costly energy plan, and I will fight to keep Alabama jobs. I'm asking for your vote on June the 3rd. Stand with Barbie, and together, let's keep Alabama working.
I teach. I touch the future. I am AEA.
I keep the school clean every day for your children. I am AEA.
Congratulations on your scholarship. I help children make choices for college and careers. I am AEA.
We are AEA. Welcome to Alabama's newest entertainment destination, Wind Creek, Wetumpka. The perfect escape for date night, a getaway with your friends, or a relaxing poolside cocktail. Whether it's a day trip to enjoy the best steak in Alabama or a romantic weekend, the finest Southern hospitality is just a short drive away. Wind Creek, Wetumpka. Find your winning moment.
If you like Obamacare, you will love Common Core. Common Core is not just about standardizing curriculum and testing. It's about nationalizing education to fit Obama's standards. This is a bad plan. Our kids deserve better. To find out more about this rotten Common Core plan, visit alabamalimitedgovernment.com. Let's tell Washington to keep their hands off our children.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. Our guest today is Chad Griffin from the Human Rights Campaign. Welcome.
Thank you, Will. Pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. You just came in from Mississippi, or
I did. I was in Mississippi yesterday and in Arkansas the day before.
Your organization is starting a campaign called Project One that's specifically coming to the South to promote understanding and acceptance of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender individuals. Am I correct in that?
That's exactly right. That's what we've launched, something called Project One America, which is the largest ever investment of equality right here in these three states, right here in the South, the Deep South, in Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama. We're investing $8.5 million, more than 20 staff, and opening up an office right here in Montgomery in order to close that gap between the haves and have-nots when it comes to equality, social equality as well as legal equality in this country.
You know, you are from the South.
I am. I'm from Arkansas.
So you, of all people, have to know how difficult your job is. Is it worth it?
There's no question it's worth it. You know why it's worth it? Because there are lives at stake. There are real-life people who are suffering every single day because of a lack of protections and because of inequality under the law. A young person who's facing rejection in church or hears bullying in school or sometimes even rejected around his or her own dinner table. That's just unacceptable. You know, growing up in the South, I grew up going to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, and if mom got her way, usually Wednesday night too.
Right.
And if there's one thing that I took away from those church pews every single Sunday, it was the golden rule. Treat others as you wish to be treated. Thou shalt not judge. We are all God's children. Why in the world would we pick a group of citizens of this state and this country and single them out because of who they are, how they were born, and treat them unequally under the law and reject them? That's not something that we do. It's un-American, and it's certainly not a Southern value.
Well, I've heard over the last several years among people that I know well, and even among some clergy members that I know well, they have said this issue needs to go away. And they don't mean that they want to keep fighting it. They just want to take it off the table because it's turned more hatred, it's caused more division, it's not helping. They want to get it off the pews and out of the pulpit and off the conversation. I mean, do you think you can make headway in public with these people? In private's one thing, in public's another.
Well, I do, and I think that because that's our experience. That's what we've seen across the country. Every single day, we have more and more Democrats and Republicans alike who are standing up on the side of justice and equality. You know, there was a time in this country where perhaps hate would sell. Perhaps hearing hate from the pulpit would mean you would have more congregates or you could have more customers in your business. That's no longer the case. Inequality is not good for business. It's the wrong thing to do, and we have to put a stop to it. But you know how we put a stop to it? By having the conversations. The research shows 9 out of 10 Americans, the vast majority, nearly every single person in the state of Alabama, whether they know it or not, has someone in their close family circle, friend circle, co-workers, the neighbor next door, or the congregate seated next to you in the church pew that's LGBT. And when you get to know them, when you hear their stories, when you hear their struggles that are no different than your own, you don't wish that they had less rights. You want them to have equal rights. Nothing special, but equal. Nothing more, nothing less. That's how we win this battle. That's how we win this battle, by having the conversations and not writing off anyone anywhere. Not writing off anyone anywhere, and not being afraid to have that conversation with the person that might be against you at the moment, because today's enemy is tomorrow's supporter when it comes to this issue.
It's hard to look another human being in the eye, and if you see their soul, to hate them. And part of this is about systemic hate that has been fostered throughout the years. Whether you agree or not, you know, today's kids grew up on Will and Grace. I grew up on All in the Family, and there was a lot of hate there. And I think our society has wanted to move away from that. Do you sense that?
There is no question. Like so many other issues of injustice in this country has always been a beacon of hope for the rest of the world, and we have always progressed to a more inclusive and accepting society, and certainly when it comes to the laws. There is no question. And the point you make there, young people today, Democrat, Republican, religious or not, look at this issue and they say, what's all the fuss about? What are these people having such a disagreement on? Why in the world would we treat our brothers and sisters differently simply because of who they are, how they were born? Young people are the ones that are leading the way and are the reason that we're going to ultimately win this battle. 30%, if you look at the statistics around this country, here in this state, we recently did a survey that shows a majority of Alabamans under the age of 30 support marriage equality. It also shows a vast majority of folks in this state, including a majority of Republicans, support basic non-discrimination protections.
Patricia Todd has been a great champion. She's our only sitting legislator who is out as a lesbian. She has a partner. Are you working with Patricia Todd on
Absolutely.
this?
Patricia Todd is a friend and is a colleague in the movement. You know, Patricia is one of the most incredible elected leaders because she's someone who represents all of her constituents, not just the LGBT constituents in her district. She is so successful in her job because she represents everyone. She is a partner in this effort, but you know what? She needs more partners in that state house. Not just LGBT elected officials, but straight and gay alike who will stand up for basic human dignity. And I think that's something we're going to see. I've met with a number of elected leaders here in this state, and we will continue to do so, Democrats and Republicans. Patricia Todd is a great leader, and more need to stand up and join her.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us today, and we'll be following your progress, and I wish you all the best in the world.
Thank you so much, Bill. I look forward to coming back.
Our guest today has been Chad Griffin with the Human Rights Campaign. You're watching The V. We'll be right back.
The V is sponsored by Jonathan Barbie for Public Service Commissioner and MediaWorks Communications Video Production Services for all your video production needs.
Welcome to Alabama's newest entertainment destination, Wind Creek, Wetumpka, the perfect escape for date night, a getaway with your friends, or a relaxing poolside cocktail. Whether it's a day trip to enjoy the best steak in Alabama or a romantic weekend, the finest Southern hospitality is just a short drive away. Wind Creek, Wetumpka. Find your winning moment.
I make sure to get your kids to school and home safe every day. I am AEA.
I make sure your child receives a healthy meal each day. I am AEA.
Thank you, AEA, for protecting our public schools and our futures. We are AEA.
I've directed the Environmental Protection Agency to set new standards that put an end to the limitless dumping of carbon pollution from our power plants.
Let's face it, we're all tired of Obama's liberal agenda. Now he's threatening to shut down Alabama coal plants and raise our utility rates. I'm Jonathan Barbie, and I will stand up to Obama's costly energy plan, and I will fight to keep Alabama jobs. I'm asking for your vote on June the 3rd. Stand with Barbie, and together, let's keep Alabama working.
Welcome back to the V. Chad Griffin has a tough row to hoe, doesn't he?
It's a straight uphill battle. I mean, you're talking Mississippi, Arkansas, and Alabama. I mean, those are three bedrock, deep, rich Republican states. It's going to be an uphill climb.
He's a sharp guy.
Yeah, he is. I think he represents the cause very well. He's very well spoken and sharp.
Articulate, professional. I mean, they've got the best man out there in the front for them, I think. But he'll do a great job. We look forward to seeing what they offer here.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Listen, more information is always good. This week, we learned that Mike Hubbard has been paying, through campaign donations, Barry Moore's legal fees. What are we going to make of that, Claire?
Shocking. It's egregious as far as I'm concerned.
It is egregious. It was bad enough he was paying his own legal fees, either illegally or pursuant to a criminal indictment. I just don't think that when people donate to a PAC or a political campaign, they expect you to turn around and hand it to your lawyer because you lied under oath.
Well, I mean, Bob Riley gave him 25, and Mike gave him 25.
I mean, if I'm a donor and I'm giving a political action committee money, I want them to spend it on a political race, not on defending a criminal. And I know people are innocent until proven guilty, but I'm going to tell you right now that where there's smoke, there's fire. I'll guarantee it.
Well, no doubt about it. I mean, Barry Moore lied. I mean, what's Mike telling him? Stay calm and keep lying?
I'm not sure that it's legal that they pay his legal fees through there. If there was an agreement that, hey, Barry, we're going to pay your legal fees, we'll give you money through a PAC, that's illegal.
Right.
That is an illegal campaign contribution.
Well, that's directing money from in a PAC to campaign, which is illegal.
It's hush money, isn't it?
It's what it looks like.
It looks like
stay on the team. Stay connected to the wagon.
Well, this week we also see that Bob Riley has spent the Alabama 2014 PAC down to about $300,000. This was supposed to be one of the PACs that had millions and millions of dollars to protect incumbents. But one of the interesting things was most of the money came from booze.
Yeah.
I mean, booze and tobacco is financing Republicans. Is that the way it's supposed to be?
Well, that's not the way it was in the past. But, and you know, they love to talk about gambling. They love to talk about alcohol. But then again, when we take the money, it's okay. But 2014 PAC is sending out a new mailer every day in some of these districts, bashing the people that are challenging the incumbents, trying to tie them to Obama, and all this other ludicrous accusations. And Bob Riley's right at the heart of it. It's his damn PAC, and he's doing it. And he knows it's being done, and it's not truthful.
And as a former governor, and supposedly as a statement, he should just go away. But he's put himself and his family
He certainly has not ridden off on a white horse, I'll guarantee you that.
And 6 or 8 months ago, I heard they were going to reserve the bulk of this money for November. And if they're down to $300,000 now, they either need to go on another campaign contributing scheme.
Yeah, in just a couple of days, we're 2 weeks out.
I mean, Mike Hubbard's PAC, Storm PAC,
Drizzle
PAC, did not raise a dime.
Yeah.
And here they're pouring money into this Barry Moore thing, $75,000 last week he had, and he spent $25 on, on Baxley. And that's just a down payment on
but don't you think that some of these PACs, like Drizzle PAC, they're not raising what they were going to raise because they've created these foundations, these shells, and they're running a lot of money through
Well, they could be laundering money other places, some of this dark money. We pulled the other day, there's been a lot of criticism about John Rice in the 2014, or not 2014, the Foundation for Limited Government Stop Common Core PAC. We had one of our researchers pull all the other association money. What hypocrisy. There is so much foundation and association money flowing through this state. To single out one person is just disgusting.
Well, and I looked at Bill Roberts. He's a homer up in Walker County. He's a one-term wonder who has raised since January $83,500 from PACs alone, not to mention another $40,000 in kind from Riley's PAC. Yeah. So, I mean, they talk about other people and big money and dark money. Come on.
Well, and back to, this 2014 PAC, and you're talking about alcohol and tobacco. I'm going to lay the hay down where the goats can get it. Alcohol has been, wine and beer has been a big issue this last session. Yes, I was a poster child for that, but take that aside. There are some serious issues facing the alcohol, wine, and beer industry. They keep talking about privatization, and these people that have bricks and mortars here want to make sure that they're taken care of and they're covered.
Well, I'm not opposed to anybody, protecting their own turf. It's just that, you know, they get out here and beat the cover off of the Bible, acting like they wouldn't drink, smoke, or cheat on their wives, and they take money like it's going out of style.
And drink, smoke, and cheat on their wives.
And the worst thing is, the Alabama Baptist Association, Godfrey, and that whole crowd, if they're against you on a wine bill or a beer bill, then they'll snuggle up with the beer people and vice versa to do what they can and take money from them to help defeat something. It's amazing.
When I like Dr. Godfrey, and I
do too, but I'm just saying they take money from, you know, people that they say they don't like.
It's like
That's
this gambling money
too.
we go back to, you know? I mean, everybody took it.
Yeah,
but
I think in times past, the Christian Coalition of Alabama took money from Milton McGregor.
The Alabama Baptists used to take money from the Mississippi Indians.
Yeah.
And they said, well, they're doing the Lord's work over here, trying to keep gambling out of
Alabama.
Alabama, so we're going to take in
you
Mississippi
know,
money.
That's the way I am. You know, people complain about our advertisers. I'm saying, look, I'll take it and do the
I'll put it
Lord's
up.
work with it. I don't care. This thing, you know, it's interesting. We were talking about the PSC earlier. And I do think that's a very interesting race because Terry Dunn has become a lightning rod because it is believed he's cuddled up to the environmentalists and wants to see coal money and the utility rates, you know, would go up if Terry Dunn's plan gets passed. A lot of people are upset about that, but a lot of people like Terry Dunn.
I think that is just, he's not controlled by one particular entity and industry. I think he's a fine person. He just wasn't somebody's hand-picked person, so they're trying to defeat him.
None of the PSC candidates called and asked to hire us, so I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody.
Yeah.
But if you would run out there and say, I hate liberal environmentalism and I want to burn so much coal that coal ash will rain down from the sky, I think you'd have a good chance of winning.
Well, Jonathan
That seems to be the message.
Jonathan Barbie, who's our producer on the show, is running for the PSC, and maybe that's what he needs to do. Tell folks, I'm going to lower your rates, and I'm going to
when
burn
the traditional funders don't give you money, you have to look for alternative sources to raise money.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, listen, let's have a little balance on the PSC. I mean, you know, you don't need everybody going lock, stock, and barrel. I mean, if I was a member there, I would want a little bit of controversy.
Well, we got to get out of here. You've been watching The Voice of Alabama Politics. You can get news stories every day at alreporter.com and catch the V every Sunday on your ABC affiliate. Thank you for watching.